From Parliament, David, what is your headline for Budget 2022? I know you'll have one. Good to go.
Look, Grant Robertson had one shot, one opportunity to stop this being the brain drain budget. Unfortunately, he has not taken the initiative. His big ideas are put half the country on welfare for 3 months at the end of the year, give you a bit more discount on your train fares, and then what? Unfortunately, people who rely on something called working for a living are no better off. Their taxes keep going up. And the really sad thing is that the attraction of a place called Australia just got a whole lot stronger with that failure to give hope that we have a real strategy for ending the cost of living crisis, for raising incomes. And the sad thing is, when I said it would be a brain drain budget, I never imagined that the Treasury documents that have been released actually show the population is going to be lower than they thought it would be in December. So even the Treasury is now forecasting people are going to leave. It is a sad and sorry day. Grant Robertson had that opportunity. He didn't take it. And I fear that more New Zealanders will take opportunities offshore, and this budget will be remembered as the brain drain budget. Well,
what he has done, though, David, is he has addressed the big political elephant in the room, which is cost of living. And that's smart politics, isn't it?
Well, it's smart rhetoric, but when you say he's addressed it, I take issue with that. If you earn over $70,000, all you get is additional tax to pay for all this expenditure that's going on. If you look at the deteriorating situation, the amount of debt that we will have has now gone up by $15 billion at the peak. We're now going from an $800 million deficit next year to a $6.6 billion deficit next year. And for people who thought there was an end to the cost of living crisis, Treasury in December forecast we'd have 3% inflation next year. It's now forecasting 5.3% inflation next year. So that cost of living crisis is going to roll into next year. What we really needed to do was reel in government spending, reel in taxation, let people keep more of their own money. For example,
David,
in our alternative budget,
if you were Finance Minister, David,
keeps another $2,300.
What is one thing that you would do if you were Finance Minister, David, today that would help the great majority of New Zealanders with the cost of living crisis? One thing, briefly.
It's very simple. We would pull back expenditure by $6.8 billion. If that sounds like a lot, Labor have increased spending by $45 billion in 5 years. The more government spends, the more inflation we have, and the more inflation we have, the more the Reserve Bank's going to put up your mortgage rate. And don't think you'll get away with that because you're renting. Of course, it's going to be passed on by landlords as well. This spending habit, this insatiable appetite that Grant Robertson has is a disaster for New Zealand. It makes me so mad, actually, that he hasn't been able to get over his ideological opposition to just letting hardworking people keep more of their own money by reducing taxes.
OK, David, well, thank you so much for joining us. We will talk more about some of the